A recent study suggests that musicians process pain differently than everybody else. We're going to be discussing that and a lot more right after this. Everybody, this is the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I'm your host, Scott Paton. Joining me as usual, Morry Zelcovich from Mind Trainer Pro. I hate it when I practice saying the name before we go on air, and then my lips and tongue just disappoint me. So welcome, Morry. How are you today?
I'm terrific. Thank you for asking. And yourself?
I'm doing really well. And
Good.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy every day.
Happy every day. That's right.
Yeah. That's part of our problem, right, Scott? We wait for a special day to feel good. We wait for a special day to celebrate. How about every day? Every day you wake up on the right side
Every
of
day
God.
should be a celebration. It's another day
Yeah.
of life. And there were people yesterday who are alive and today aren't. And so we need to celebrate that win that we have. And I think you bring a great point. Oftentimes, just taking a breath, just taking a step is a celebration. And
Yeah.
we celebrate the runners that run marathons and finish, or the skiers that's ski down and do those big jumps. And good for them. But for many of us, just taking that step, I know for me, oftentimes I feel like I'm mired in quicksand, and it's just like so hard to take a step forward, and it can be a huge effort. So great point. Thank you for bringing it up.
Pleasure.
We like to talk a lot about our mind, our brain, how that affects us. And I started off by mentioning musicians, and I just want to quickly share this, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But there was a study that found that musicians process pain differently. And they say it's because the repeated practice of playing on the piano, for example, changes key brain circuits. And this is people that have trained extensively. So if you're like me and you play the piano once every 3 years and only one song, that's probably not going to be enough. But when they induced pain deliberately in a group of non-musicians and a group of musicians, it showed that the brain's motor map for the affected hand, after just a huge reduction in the brain's motor map, which I don't know what that is, for the affected hand just after a couple of days. Musicians, however, maintained stable motor maps and reported lower levels of discomfort. Turns out the more hours of practice a musician had logged, the less pain they reported, and the more stable their brain maps remained. So I think it's an interesting example of how what we do physically can impact us mentally and emotionally.
You know, what's funny about that study and about other things is most of us consider pain to be pain, which is fair, right? It's like flicking a light switch on and now you see light, you flick it off, you don't see light. Pain can be thought of the same way. Oh my God, I feel pain. And instantly we translate that meaning of the pain to being what it is. The reality is I'm in pain. The pain I'm feeling is real. And it is. I'm not taking any of that away. But I want to point out that it's the perception of the pain that matters a lot here. So if we just give credit to the pain by saying, this is pain, I have no control over this, this is just pain, then we give up and we don't process properly the stimulation, the pain. In reality, our perception, how we interpret that pain, has a lot to do with how we experience it. So we may believe the pain is pain because it feels like a light switch turning on. I tweaked my knee. So it's okay for a while until I make a turn, and then it's like, that's
Right.
pain, right? And it's like I instantly attribute that to being pain. Nothing to do with me. It's my body, it's dysfunction, and it's the pain related to the wrong movement. But often that pain is a function of my interpretation of that event. So if I give more credit to the pain, saying it's independent of me, like of my psychology, of my brain, then I'm actually taking my own power away, because there's lots of situations where you may feel pain and then you don't feel the pain, or it doesn't feel as intense. And I think a good way to be is to start paying attention and be aware of that kind of situation, so that when we notice a subtle change in our expression or in our experience of the pain, that we realize that's a function of how we choose to think about the pain. Often pain seems to go away or not get noticed if we get distracted by something else.
That happened to me this morning. I'm visiting my son and my grandsons and granddaughter, and he's 6 years old. He stubbed his toe. Well, of course, wow, and he comes running to grandpa, right? So he jumps on my lap, and I'm, don't touch my toe, it hurts, and so I start tickling him and distracting him, and of course he's laughing and he's forgetting all about his pain until I put him down, and then he's like, oh yeah, my foot still hurts, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, how interesting. Like some people say the more you focus on something, the more it grows or becomes important. And they usually say that, like, in terms of focusing on a goal that you want to achieve, right? But if you're focusing on the pain that you're feeling in your body all the time, you can become hypersensitive to it too, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's we're all a combined unit. We're not just pain. We're not just sensors. We're not just flesh and bone. We're not just psychology. We're not any of these things independently. We are all of these things coherently. And there's parts that we can't control, but there's other parts that we do have significant control over. And by adjusting our attitude and our mindset in some areas that may seem unrelated, we can experience better outcomes.
I
Because
love
again,
one of the things you
connected.
said on a previous episode, Morry, which was, we have this ball of pain, right? And like a basketball. And that's what everyone thinks. Like, I have this pain, it's a basketball. But what if it was 30 ping pong balls? This is the way this is how I interpret what you said, right? And let's say that we can do something like the mind entrainment and the triliminals that you've created, and that can cause us to relax. And maybe 3 ping pong balls are now gone from that glob of ping pong balls, right? And maybe
Yeah.
you can play music and another 2 will drop off. So instead of being at a 10 out of 10 in pain, maybe I'm a 9 out of 10 in pain. And then maybe I can do something and be a 8.5 out of 10. And then over the years, bring it down to where it's not, front and center of the most, all I think about is this pain that I'm feeling.
That's it exactly. And the trick is to pay attention to even the most subtle of improvement. The most subtle of change proves to you that you have some control over this. And the minute you get that proof, if you concentrate on that and you go, okay, what am I doing that's making it go down 3%? That's making it go down 5%? That in itself will likely distract you from significant quantities of the pain that you're experiencing, because now you're focusing on a solution
Right.
as opposed to focusing on something that you have no control over. It's like whining and complaining. I'd rather complain about the government. I'd rather complain about politics. I'd rather complain about religion, because I have no control over these things. So I can bitch about them all I want. And I feel comfortable bitching because I can blame them for everything wrong in my life.
Right.
Look at your background. Okay, you were mentioning that you're visiting family, and they're fixing up their basement. They're in the middle of doing it, so you can see,
Right.
plaster of Paris on the walls. It's not painted, but you can see how the lines are refined, and it's a work in progress.
Yes.
You can kind of look at your psyche, how you deal with your pain, as a work in progress as well. So at some point, maybe next year, if you're visiting again and you're using the same background, it's going to have a nice powder blue paint or green or brown or beige. And maybe there'll be some paintings hanging or some photos or something.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress. Everything can get better than it is now. That's why we feel the pain. The pain is trying to tell us something. It's a message. And even though it's an unfair message when it never subsides and it hits us all the time, it's really, if we look at it as a message, we start examining it. And if we start examining it, we have a chance of figuring out something that's going on with it. If we just treat it like I was talking about politics or politicians or the government or whatever, then we have no power over it. It's like it's like a Nazi prisoner of war camp commandant who is just torturing you all the time. But the thing is, your perception, your experience of that pain isn't something detached from you. It's something that if you realize it's part of you because it's trying to tell you something, then you can start experimenting. You can do something like the autoimmune protocol. You can stop eating certain foods for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
See if that has a difference. Stop drinking Coca-Cola for a couple of weeks. See if that makes a difference. If you smoke, cut down or stop, even better. If you drink, cut down or stop, even better. There's a lot of things we do, in our society, and I think I've mentioned this before, so I hope I'm not too repetitive. But in our society, it's all about waiting for something to screw up and then doing something about it.
Right.
The thing is, though, if something screws up, there's a pretty good chance that we're doing something that caused that thing to show up in the first place. So maybe the real help isn't necessarily taking something for it, but it's stopping doing what is exacerbating it.
One of
Stopping doing, making
right.
it
One of
work.
my friends likes to say, when you find yourself in a deep pit, stop digging.
I like that. Yeah.
It's yeah, like and I think what you brought up was really a good point. It's self-awareness, right? Like, this is Christmas, so we have turkey and stuffings and gingerbread houses and parties and wine and beer and hard liquor and parties. Did I say parties? I'll say
I
parties
feel
again.
2 parties.
Yeah. And then we have New Year's right after that. And then a month later, the Super Bowl hits, and everyone in North America has another party. And then every 4 to 6 weeks, there's these parties that occur. So if you are putting something into your body, whether it's liquid or food, and it's not really good stuff for you to put into your body, you're constant. And I would suggest that French fries and potato chips and
Sugars, processed sugars.
sugars and pop and alcohol to excess are all in that category. But our society is revved up that it's very hard not to do it every 4 to 6 weeks. So you can be doing good, and then all of a sudden you fall off and you do bad, right? And and now you have to decide how much of me wants to be part of the general society and how much of me wants to have better health, right? And it's like, I'm not going to the Super Bowl party this year, and I'm not, I'm going to be more responsible at New Year's, and in the summertime when we go out to the lake, we'll go to the lake without, 2-4 of beer. But you have to consciously make these decisions, and then you have to create that life that supports it, right? Like, if all of your friends are telling you, hey, come on over, Morry, we're going to have 3 beer and watch the game tonight, and you've been doing that for the last 15 years, that's a hard change. Like, those are your good friends, and
Yeah.
you need to have a conversation with them. Like, I don't drink, and I have the excuse that twice my liver has caused problems. I had hepatitis in my 20s, and it just stopped in my 50s. So that's what I just say. Like, I'm looking after my liver. I'm not going to be drinking alcohol or 1 beer every 3 or 4 months sort of thing. and I get support on that. So you have to have a good reason, and then you tell people, and then that's the boundary. Like you have to have strong boundaries in your life. And it can happen because if they're really your friends and they really care about you, they don't want you to be sick,
Yeah, of
hopefully,
course.
right?
Well, what do they care? More beer for them.
Some people get upset if you don't have a beer with them. Like it's really amazing to me.
Yeah.
Why can't I
Well,
just have
I used to drink a lot when I was younger and depressed.
me too?
And then I got better and I only drank at what we call the brothers weekend. So a bunch of friends get together at a guy's cottage and we just go crazy for a weekend. Well, now I might be something called hypoglycemic. So sugar is not my friend anymore. So
Right.
I stopped it as soon as I figured out. I'm still waiting to get an appointment, but I'm assuming that's what I have because since I figured this is what I have and I started watching my diet and I stopped eating sugars and carbs are very low, you know, I'm fine, even better than I was before,
Right.
no processed
Okay.
sugars at all, only natural sugars that occur in the food and only if it's low, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm better than I was
And
before.
that's how you know, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. So I encourage people to don't be so upset that, oh, like, for instance, I love pizza. I cannot tell you how much I love pizza. I haven't had pizza in 3 months because that's
I
when
had
I
my first
started
pizza
it.
yesterday in about a year. And that's because my son ordered the pizza for everybody. And I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
I will.
enjoyed it. Like I was like, you haven't had something for a long period of time when you actually end up having it. It's like a
A
treat.
treat. Yeah, exactly. But you see, for me, the treat is feeling good. So I'm fine with this. It's like my body said, Maury, you know what? It's time to start paying attention to your body more.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you feel really sick if you keep doing the things you shouldn't be doing. So maybe I'm not saying this is for everybody,
Right.
but medical science really doesn't know what
Let's
this
stop for a
is.
second there. It's not a basketball. It's a glob of ping pong balls.
Yeah.
So Maury's case, he takes a little bit of sugar ping pong balls out and he notices a massive difference. And we're all different. We all need to, it's self-awareness, but you have to experiment, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I haven't, like my son yesterday, we're driving and he says, I want to stop at Starbucks and get a coffee. He says, I've got a headache because I haven't had a coffee this morning, right? There's a clue. And of course, the answer is I'm just going to look after the problem immediately by having a coffee. And that's not going to solve anything long term. But that's what we do, right? Oftentimes it's like, oh, I have a craving for sugar. So I'm just going to, give into
Yeah.
the craving. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to go cold turkey on things, but you need to be aware like, oh, I haven't had coffee for 8 hours or 12 hours. I have a headache. What does that mean? It means I should drink coffee. Well, yeah, okay. And I won't have a headache. Okay. But is there another meaning in there? Is there, can you go a little bit deeper? Why would you get a headache because you don't have coffee? Right. And I guess
Yeah.
that's not unusual, but now you have to decide. The other thing too, like you've kind of alluded to this, pain is kind of your friend. It's trying to tell you something. And I find that we live in a McDonald's society, right? Like you walk into McDonald's, you say, "Give me a Big Mac," and 30 seconds later, you walk out with a hot Big Mac, right?
Yeah.
So we want everything done like immediately. And I went to the doctor once because I'd had this bad cold, sore throat. This is like 40 years ago, and nothing, didn't. I'm 20 something years old, so I'm not particularly bright. I'm not, drinking tea or I'm not doing anything different. I just have this cold and sore throat and feel bad. So I went to the doctor and he says, okay, yeah, here's a prescription for 2 weeks of antibiotics. And in 2 weeks with the antibiotics, it should be gone. So I'm leaving with this piece of paper and I'm thinking, what would happen if I didn't fill the antibiotics? Like, would I still be this sick in 2 weeks? I don't think so. Like, I think my healing in 2 weeks, I should be better. Like, I've never had a cold that lasted a month, right? Because I'm already 2 weeks into it. So I didn't fill it up. And 2 weeks later, my sore throat was gone. I didn't have a cold. I thought, that bugger, he just gave me the antibiotics to shut me up. Like, take your antibiotics and you'll be fine, right? And I think that is a big problem in our society, right? Like, oh, I have the flu and I don't feel good. And I mean, you have to balance it, right? Because some people die from the flu, and if you're the one that's going to die from the flu, you should go to the hospital. But it's way before you should have any concerns. Like, I can remember having the flu and being in bed for a week. My mom would bring me chicken noodle soup, and I would sweat like crazy and all that stuff. And we never thought about going to the hospital. But now it just feels like everybody has a little ailment and they rush to the hospital, and they don't give the body time to heal itself. Because who knows what happens when you add, all those chemicals and potions and lotions to your body when it's in a sick state, right? So I hate to, rag on hospitals and doctors and stuff, but it's the third highest cause of death in the United States, evidently. So that tells you, beware.
Yeah.
So,
well, you got to pay attention. That's the real thing. Pay attention to the messages you're getting. I'm a big proponent of, without pain, we don't know something's wrong.
Right. Yeah, it's like the engine light that goes off in your car, right? You can take your gum and cover it with a piece of gum, and then eventually your car doesn't work anymore. Or you can take it to the mechanic and get it fixed.
Yeah, and it's a matter of just experimentation. We're all scientists now. Pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to the smallest little changes you make and how they affect you.
Yeah,
Mentally.
so it's important to journal, right? Like, what did I eat today? And later, a couple hours later or a day later, this is what I felt. Oh, now is it associated, right? Well, now you can do an experiment, right? Like, let's say you ate pizza yesterday and today you're feeling really low energy and dreary and everything else. Well, wait till you feel good and say, okay, now I'm feeling good, have another pizza. And then you feel the same the next day. Don't have pizza for 3 weeks. You get that feeling, right? And it's by removing stuff from your diet for significant periods of time, right? Like bread, if you've got allergies to histamine allergies and stuff with bread, that can take a week to clear up, which means if you're having, we'll say pizza is a form of bread. If you're having pizza every Friday, then you've got this histamine problem for, ever, because it doesn't clear up, even if you don't eat bread the rest of the week, right?
That's true. That's why it's really important to pay attention to your body. You have more power than you think you have. That's my message. A lot more power than you think you have. And it's unfortunate that, if someone were to ask, like, let's say, Scott, you were to ask me a question that I didn't know the answer to. I'm not likely to tell you conclusively anything because I'm sorry, Scott, I don't know. But a lot of medical professionals, like fibromyalgia is one of these things that they don't even know what causes it. They don't know the root cause, but they're very quick to tell you can't do anything about it.
Right.
So that's a disconnect to me. That should give you power that, well, they don't really know, they don't really understand a lot. For everything I know about the brain, which is nothing, because I just have a current understanding, most things we don't really understand. We think we have an understanding and it fits for a while. And then we develop a microscope that can see something smaller, or a test that can register something on a meter that wasn't registered before, or a telescope that lets us see farther and deeper and in more detail. Every time that kind of thing happens, we learn new things. We get a different understanding. So don't think that you're stuck the way you are because science right now doesn't have an answer for you, or their answer is there's nothing you can do. If there is indeed nothing a doctor can do, it's only because a doctor doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
That's why they don't know what to do. That's not an insult to your doctor. That's just,
Yeah, your
my
doctor he has 10 or 15 or 20 patients an hour. They're all different issues that they're coming in to get dealt with. He's a general practitioner. And then there's the emergency people that are, the heart surgeons and the brain surgeons. Well, they need to know how to cut you the right way so that you survive, and and all that sort of stuff. So when you come to things that are not life threatening, although your quality of life is definitely poor, there's nobody paying much attention to it. And you kind of remind me of my dad went to see his doctor, and he had leukemia for 20 or 10 years, I guess, not 20. And the doctor says, okay, here's a prescription. And my dad looks at the prescription and he looks at the doctor and he says, this is wrong. And the doctor's like, what? What do you mean? And my dad spends 10 minutes explaining why the prescription is wrong. And the doctor says, well, you're right. Okay, we'll change the prescription. But I can't believe you know all this stuff. And my dad looks at the doctor and says, listen, I'm one of 100 people you see today. Like, you don't care. And leukemia is just one of 100 diseases that you got to do something about. And you're not an expert on it. It's my life. So I'm reading everything. And of course, we live in a world where the millions of libraries are open to us, right? And you can go to Harvard and watch classes on whatever you want for free. You're not going to get the degree, but you get the class.
Mhm.
So my dad spent hours and hours and weeks and months looking into leukemia and in the minutest detail, right? Because he wanted to live. And so I think sometimes we need to think in those terms, like, I need to explore the body-brain, body-mind connection. I need to explore how to detox. I need to explore how to rest and relax so my body can repair. I need to explore, what foods am I putting in my body, and how they impact me.
Yeah.
What's processed foods like versus raw or carnivore, or there's all sorts of different, keto. Should I be fasting? Should I not be fasting? I mean, we don't know the answers, but we know that there's a lot of information on all of these topics and a lot more that if you want to get better, you need to study and figure out. And of
So
course, joining us every week is definitely on that list of things that you should do.
my suspicion, you really inspired me when you told me about your dad. My suspicion is your dad survived longer than the doctors thought he would. Is that
Mm,
accurate?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. There are studies, plenty of studies out there that show the more involved a patient is in their treatment, the more educated they are about what's going on, the less they rely on the doctor for everything, the better their outcome. That goes for recovery from surgery, that goes for disease, that goes for injury, whatever. If you educate yourself about what's going on, my wife had two autoimmune issues, acute hemolytic anemia and Evans syndrome, both of which on their own kills people. She is symptom free, everything free for like 16, 17 years now.
Wonderful.
And
How
it's almost unheard of to be like that. And the trick is here, she was on every board, every bulletin board, every discussion group. She was studying, she was reading about all of this stuff. What can I do? What can I do? We started eating differently. That made a massive difference.
yeah.
Me too. I mean, I wasn't even sick at the time. It made a difference in me.
It's like you were
So,
saying before about, you know, what can you do before you get ill, right?
yeah,
And,
but
you
we're not
changed your
inspired
diet
to.
and it affected you, which is wonderful.
But our world isn't designed that way. Our world is designed to say, "Oh, I'm fine. Look at me. I'm 80 years old and I'm not on any meds." And then 82, you're dead
Right.
because, like a car, you were rusting. but the rest wasn't showing yet,
Right.
you know? So, I mean, even me, I consider myself a pretty smart, intelligent guy. And even with me, I'm starting to get a lot smarter, but I sit there and I wait for an ache and a pain before I take action on what's causing that ache and a pain. It's sick. I know better. And I'm doing what I can now to try to jump ahead of these things. But the resistance is crazy because you're just so habitual. We're so habitual as humans. If
Yep.
we like our Coca-Cola, we drink our freaking Coca-Cola. If we like our pizza, we eat our pizza. I mean, look at the commercials for heartburn and antacids, right? They show people eating tacos and burritos, and then they're happy and they're having fun. And then an hour later, it shows them like in agony. But it's okay because they can pop a pill that gets rid of the problem, right? Gets rid of the
Right.
symptom. The problem with getting rid of the symptom is the body is giving you a symptom because it's not good for you. That's why your body is giving you a symptom, not because you should be allowed to eat this stuff. If you eat, say, spicy Mexican food, let's use that as an example, and you feel fine, great. It's good for you. But if you eat it and it gives you heartburn, don't eat it. It's not for you.
Right.
And just because you can take a Tums or Eno or whatever the heck they call these things to feel better doesn't make it good. It's still poison for you, and that's why your body reacts that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and again, it comes down to journaling, right? Because as you were talking, I was remembering times where I had heartburn and I thought, oh man, and I know it was the bread. I had a slice of bread and it was like super processed bread, tasted awesome. And I said, oh man, I shouldn't have had that. I shouldn't have had that. And
Well, that's it now. So for me, carbs are a bad thing,
me too.
but you have to have some carbs in your diet.
Yeah.
So I've been using sourdough bread, which is
I
the
got I went to
fantastic type of carb.
a Christmas market here, and this lady was selling sourdough bread. So I bought a loaf, and it was Italian Parmesan sourdough bread, and it is so good. But I make myself one sandwich a day with this bread, and that's all I have. I mean, I would eat the whole loaf in one go if you let me, but I thought, no, I like to have a fried egg sandwich with pickles. So I thought, okay,
Pickles.
fried, yeah, that's the way we did it.
Wow, that sounds like a pregnant type thing.
I guess I've been pregnant for 69 years. So I slice the bread, I toast it, I fry the eggs, and then I put a little cheese on top, and then
Beautiful.
the pickles, and that's my big treat for the day. And sourdough bread is probably the best
So
bread you can eat.
you just brought something to my memory here. So there is a, pardon me, there is a free AI system called AI Studio by Google. And everyone should write that down, AI Studio. There is an option to build an app. You can literally build an app. You don't have to make it public. You can keep it in test mode all the time, just use it yourself. But you can build an app that you will tell it what you just ate. I ate a slice of bread, I ate a piece of pizza, I ate this, I ate that. And it will figure and tell it, I want you to be my journal to help me to figure out what is setting off my fibromyalgia. Now, I can't give you medical advice or stuff like that, but you can tell it, I want to know what foods I'm sensitive to, and I have a hard time figuring it out myself. So I want to be able to tell you the food I'm eating. And then I want to tell you 2 hours, 3 hours later how I feel, and the next day how I feel.
That's
And
cool.
I want you to keep track of all of this stuff and then give me indications as to what kind of foods might be setting me off or making it worse or triggering me. And with going back and forth, literally you type in your questions of what you want it to do. It will do all the coding for you. I have one for my blood sugar. So I tell it the food I'm having, I check it against it tells me the glycemic index. It tells me everything. It might be able to help you to figure out what is triggering you.
Very, very cool. All right. So let's spend a few minutes and talk a little bit about Mind Trainer Pro. For those that have never heard about it, maybe just give a quick background on it, Morry.
Sure. So Mind Trainer Pro is primarily an audio system, but it does have some visual methods as well. You basically put on a pair of headphones. You lie down for half an hour a day. That's all you need to do. It automatically entrains or makes your neurons, because that picture of the brain there is spotted. Imagine all those spots are neurons. There's actually billions of neurons in your brain. So what it does is it uses pulsed beats like bump, 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 or flickering images to inspire your neurons to follow the same pattern. So if the sound is going like bump, 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 then your neuron will be doing the same thing. If your neuron's doing the same thing, it releases different kinds of chemistry. And believe it or not, it's the chemistry that allows you to experience what you experience. So if you're experiencing a lot of pain, if you experience pleasure, if you're experiencing joy, anger, whatever, that is a matter of your brain creating chemistry that is allowing you to feel that way. Imagine giving your brain training that might help it to achieve different states, different chemical balances, different experiences. This is one way. Now, I'm not making a medical claim here, but this helps to train the brain into different states that you may not be used to. Natural states. There is nothing physically obtrusive about this at all. It's simply a matter of putting on the headphones, lying down, having a nap. You don't need to be awake. There's nothing to study. There's nothing to research. There's nothing to do. And by the way, we have like a wellness system, for instance, that might be something very good to try. And that's a whole $14.97 a month. That's not a lot of money to perhaps unlock your well-being, to help you to help yourself. I believe that we all have the ability to help ourselves to have a better life and to feel better. And if we could free up some of your energy away from the pain and the suffering and allow it to be there to actually help you, then who knows what's possible. Again, I'm not making any claims, but I can tell you it took me, who had 40 years of hell on earth, to being much happier and much more satisfied with life. Am I perfect? No, but who is? But I am so much better than I used to be. And I think with something that's so easy to use, put on headphones, lie down, have a nap for half an hour, you're not really taking a big risk.
Yep.
But the reward can be quite massive.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, we've come to the end of our time together. Morry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The beginning of the holiday season, so Merry Christmas, everybody, and we hope you have a wonderful new year. And Morry, any last words before we sign off?
Yeah, especially now that it's Christmas season and Hanukkah and everything else. I want to point out that when we wait for a special day to celebrate, we are ripping ourselves off. I encourage you to wish everybody a happy and healthy every day. And if we start looking at every day to celebrate our little wins, I think our lives get better automatically. So Again, everybody a happy and healthy every day.
Thank you, Morry. Wise words. And thank you for joining us. This has been the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. See you next time. Bye for now.
My body's a temple, but the walls are cracked. Stuck in the rubble of the years I've stacked. Stagnation in my veins like a river to the dust. Toxic whispers in the wind, but I gotta rebuild. I must.